All right, welcome to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And we've got some very interesting news. We spoke earlier about some of the, what were considered second-tier candidates dropping out earlier. But it looks like now a top-tier candidate is starting to show all the bad signs of a campaign that is going, unfortunately, down the drain. This is none other than California's very own Kamala Harris, who is shedding staffers like a bad fur coat. Cody, tell us what's going on.
So I believe yesterday now this article came out. Politico has a specific article. Story came out yesterday, though. Kamala Harris to slash staff and restructure campaign as she hemorrhages cash. Pretty rough headline, but diving into the story, we'll go a little bit further through this. Kamala Harris is dramatically restructuring her campaign by redeploying staffers to Iowa and laying off dozens of aides at her Baltimore headquarters, according to campaign sources in a memo obtained by Politico. As she struggles to resuscitate her beleaguered presidential bid, the move comes as Harris is hemorrhaging cash and in danger of lacking the resources to mount a competitive bid against better-funded rivals in Iowa. The overhaul will touch nearly every facet of Harris's operations, with layoffs or redeployments coming at headquarters, as well as in New Hampshire, Nevada, and her home state of California, a Super Tuesday prize that her advisors once viewed as a big asset. Yikes. We talked about this earlier, but she pulled behind Andrew Yang in California about a month ago. The campaign manager, Juan Rodriguez, will cut his own salary, according to the memo, which was just over $10,000 a month in the third quarter of the year. Wow. The campaign manager. When the campaign manager is cutting his own salary, it's really, 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 really bad. And then here's the last thing I want to talk about from this, and we'll talk about some other stuff later. Move on to other stuff. The major shakeup is the latest strategic maneuver to help rescue a campaign that was still being viewed as a likely early-state juggernaut 3 months ago after Harris confronted Joe Biden in a debate over school busing. The performance seemed to signal the realization of the promise Harris displayed during her campaign launch before 22,000 spectators in Oakland. Yet it's been down. I remember that. For those of you who remember, Harris drew 22,000 people to announce she was running for president. Do you think she can draw that today?
No, because we've moved on from the fervor of identity politics to the phase of the battle that requires substance. And to date, I cannot think of a single policy proposal. There wasn't some whipped up copycat policy proposal made like the day before the debates, that was basically just a version of Bernie Sanders or Andrew Yang's plan. I can't think of really a major flagship proposal or a sense of meaning that she as a candidate brings. And it's always those kind of candidates that win. Like even with JFK, he was a civil rights guy that promised with a stroke of a pen to be giving rights to the African-American community. So much so that after he got elected, when they felt they weren't doing it, they started mailing him pens. But that just actually shows how, him as a candidate, you could think, okay, wow, this is what he represents and stands for. We can't think of what Kamala Harris stands for. Bush Jr. was going to restore decency to the office of the president. Barack Obama, it was hope and change. Okay. With Donald Trump, it was make America great again, build the wall. There's a response, a policy response is elicited that is the substance that backs up why you like the person.
Well, speaking of responses, I want to show
you something. And I can't think of something with Kamala, so therefore she's going to be hemorrhaging support and employees.
But I want to show you something, speaking of consequences and results. This is hilarious. So just to kind of put it in perspective, there's been a bunch of dunk on Kamala things. I don't want to say pile on, but we're going to a little bit. So
I fully support
Kamala Harris, famously now, I think once her campaign is over, this is really going to be a famous last words kind of situation.
Yeah.
This goes back, I believe she actually said this on the 31st of January. Article I'm pulling up from the Hill is from the 1st of September.
Please tell me this is the one where she says, I'm a top tier candidate.
Harris on Gabbard criticism. I'm obviously a top tier candidate, so I expect to take hits. That's what Kamala Harris said. Only, wow, what is that? 90 days ago. 3 short months ago. And I want to highlight something else too, the hubris. I don't think she got enough. She did not get enough flack, enough pushback for saying that. I want to show you guys really the saddest story of the 2019 election season so far. So here's the graph. You guys have probably seen it many times. Real Clear Politics, 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, aggregate. I'm blanking on the word, but it's a kind of graph you can see in a second. Here we go.
Aggregate of polls.
Yeah, but type
right?
of graph
Okay.
this is for. Anyway, so there's this gold colored line. That gold colored line right here is Kamala Harris. You will see there was a day, on this day, looks like July the 7th or July the 6th. Whatever. Which basically between the 6th and 10th of July, Kamala was at 15%. It looked like a legitimate threat. I think at that specific moment, she was in third place for Democratic primary. Now, when she said, obviously, I'm a top-tier candidate and I expect to take hits, she still remained in fourth place, but was in the middle of a free fall, like I said, early August, that has ended with her now obviously trailing Pete Buttigieg. Now, why I wanted to bring this up so much? What does it mean? What's it relevant to today? Well, multiple polls came out in the last 2 days. And in two of those polls I'm going to highlight, admittedly, there was one or two where Tulsi's at 1% still. But in this New Hampshire Democratic primary, which is an important poll that counts for debates, you'll notice that Tulsi Gabbard's 5% beats obviously top-tier candidate Kamala Harris at 3%.
Ooh.
And then another poll that came out today or yesterday, I believe. Sorry, in the last 3 days. This was a national poll, stuff like you and USA Today.
Okay.
We have Tulsi Gabbard at 4% and obviously top-tier candidate Kamala Harris 3%. Kamala Harris is now, it looks like, not in every poll, but it looks like she's trending below Tulsi Gabbard. And why I wanted to bring this up too, one last thing I want to talk about, why I'm bringing this up.
Okay.
Again, a little bit of old news here, a little bit, but it's relevant now again to show what the polls have reflected since this.
Okay.
It is a little bit crazy to think it's been this long, but it was about 10 days ago that CNN, well, not only CNN, many publications ran this ridiculous headline. It was true, though. Hillary Clinton suggests Russians are grooming Tulsi Gabbard for third-party run.
Jeez.
So what happens when Hillary Clinton comes out and attacks Tulsi Gabbard? What happens when Tulsi Gabbard gets smeared as everything under the
biggest
book?
favor of her campaign.
Exactly. You know what happens? Tulsi Gabbard, who probably was going to miss the November debate, is going to more than likely now make the November debate. Both these polls counted for the November debates, and she hit the qualifying marks in both of them. I think she's one away.
Now, Tulsi Gabbard.
So what I'm saying is, obviously top-tier candidate Kamala Harris. Again, obviously top-tier candidate. You want to talk about taking hits? How about your campaign is over before December? How about that is taking hits? And we're seeing it now. We're seeing her slash staff and restructure as she's running out of money. By the way, Joe Biden's also running out of money. And now we're seeing her fall behind Tulsi Gabbard.
Man. Okay. There's only two things preventing Tulsi Gabbard from rubbing this in Kamala Harris's face. First, I don't know how much bigger bragging rights 5% is than 4% is when it's all within the margin of error and it's all below double digits.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Beating her.
But
you know?
yeah, also Tulsi's just a classy lady. That's the second thing. Whether you agree or disagree with her politics, you definitely cannot impeach her class, her dignity, and her love for country. And man, I mean, we named this show Problem Solver Politics because we try as best as we can to keep to the substance, keep to the problem, keep to the solution. But every once in a while, there's just an ad hominem attack that I kind of just feel is justified. And you're right, that arrogance of that comment saying, well, I'm a top tier candidate. Again,
in the midst of a free fall, which never ended. It's basically continued throughout the entire thing. She was in the midst
it's
of
like
this free
the
fall when she
villain
said
in
that.
The Mummy, the guy that betrays everybody in The Mummy but finally gets eaten by the flesh-eating beetles at the end. And you're kind of like, yeah, he kind of deserved it. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Forgot his name? I will never forget that name ever.
What is it?
Benny.
Benny?
Yeah.
Oh, that was Benny's name? Okay, yeah. So it's like Kamala Harris is to the 2020 elections as Benny was to the Mummy.
Yeah, exactly. Remember? It looks like we have all the horses. Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river. Remember that? Dude, when I was a kid, I watched that movie. Sorry, guys, you're probably distracted by the graph. I'm trying to get it to delay. Wow, look at that. I finally stopped when it does. Right there, August 1st, right in the middle of her collapse that ended her presidential bid is when she had the gall to say, obviously, I'm a top-tier candidate. Anyway, that aside, actually, getting to more important things, Mummy with Brendan Fraser, tremendous film. What a great movie. We've seen it many times. Big shout-outs to Brendan Fraser and the Mummy.
Yeah, he was a top-tier actor. What happened to him?
A lot of things. I don't want to get into it.
Oh,
Poor
okay.
guy. Recovered now. But
Okay.
again, no, it didn't recover. The campaign of Kamala Harris. She's done for. And you know who else probably is never going to recover again?
Who?
The reputation of Hillary Clinton. Because what happens when Hillary Clinton comes out and floats the idea that Tulsi, by the way, who she's been beefing with for years, is a Russian asset again? You know what happens, though, when she does this? It bumps Tulsi in the polls. You know what? There is a world where Kamala doesn't make it to the November debates and Tulsi Gabbard does.
Yeah, but
that
I've heard
world
a
is
lot
very
of chatter.
realistically coming up. Because we are approaching a point where the Kamala campaign might be over and the Tulsi campaign might be finally hitting an identity and taking steam, while the Yang campaign continues to surge. Like, my point being is candidates like Beto, Booker, and Harris are out while Yang and Tulsi surge. Interesting. Very interesting. And I just think it's really funny to point out how these people are finally realizing they don't, like, by these people I mean like the establishment Democrat types are realizing they can't just do this stuff anymore. They can't just say people are Russians or being groomed by the Russians to be spies with no reason. You can't just go up there and have the arrogance to say, well, obviously I'm a top tier candidate, while you're in the middle of a free fall. It's about to end your campaign. So we're seeing a rise of these next wave of, like, the Democratic establishment's fracturing and falling apart, and maybe if the future of the Democratic Party is people like Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, holy cow, there's some stuff that might be going on. That might be the Democratic Party might actually have some legs in the future. Otherwise, it's gonna have to burn and start again. Is my point.
Yeah, I just discorded you an interesting graph that's from Gallup about Hillary Clinton's approval rating, which is indeed at an all-time low. It's just hit 36%, right? Yeah, I look at that and I just think, oh my gosh. You know,
Oh, hold on. By all time, you mean dating back to March 20th, 1992. Like all time. Not like all-time low since we started checking in 2005. Like all-time low, like 30 years almost all-time low.
Yeah,
holy cow.
We're talking legit from the time. I think that actually predates Bill Clinton's presidency. That's when they started taking. He was still the governor of Arkansas at that time, wasn't he?
If he won the election in 92, yeah, because the 92 election would have been November of 92, right?
Is that when it starts? Is 92?
Is that when he won? I don't know.
Oh, I'm trying to remember because
like,
2000 was Bush.
Yeah, because like it's like every president. It's kind of like the NFL where they have the Super Bowl in January. It's like it's the 2019 season, but we played the Super Bowl in 2020.
It would have been 1992.
Yeah, it's the 2019 or 2020 election, but the whole thing happens in 2019. You know what I mean?
So anyway, I actually think that this is a very good thing. And it's not because we want to dunk on and smash on Kamala. There's actually too much of that in the political sphere, and it discourages honorable people from running. So we don't want to engage in that, although, of course, she's not honorable.
I was about
to say, she kept innocent men in prison who had been convicted of nonviolent marijuana violations that had since been decriminalized in order for free wildfire labor in California. Yeah, far from honorable. So you're right. We don't want to diss on politicians too much because it discourages honorable men from running. But this is actually a very good thing for America because it can be extremely dangerous when you have a leader that is simultaneously overconfident and foolish with all that hubris, like you said, but also not that self-aware. And I mean, that's the kind of fall of empire stuff, you know. If you can't have the wherewithal to realize that your pride is going to be your silver bullet. We all watched the movie The Patriot. I mean, there's that great scene where Mel Gibson finds the guy's journal and he's reading through the journal.
Mel Gibson, by the way.
Yeah, great American Mel Gibson. But I love that moment where he's going through the guy's journal and he's like, what is this man's weakness? What is this man's weakness, right? And they figure out that it's his pride. And they're like, well, what do you do with that? And he's like, that may be enough. You know, that may be enough. And it's through attacking the man's pride that he was able to gain some of the biggest victories, at least in the movie, of the Revolutionary War. You don't want people where their ego is so large that it gets in the way of understanding facts. And we've been spared that. So I think generally the news of Kamala Harris's campaign not really amounting to much is a good thing. Just like the campaign of Tom Steyer not amounting to much is a good thing, because it proves that At least you can't billionaire way your buy into the billionaire buy your way into the presidency. There's a modicum of dignity
I don't
left.
know, you can buy your way into a debate stage.
At least I'm okay with being able to buy your way into the debate stage.
It's not the White House,
but it's not the White House, So it's like it gives me that. It restores hope in the American political system, if not just the hope. So anyway, got anything else to say, Cody?
No.
Okay.
No, just that. Like I said, if these polls and this trend in the primary process as it is a sign that Tulsi and Yang are the future of the party, and the past is people like Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, it's a good sign for Democrats. Actually, you know what it's a bad sign for? Donald Trump, because it means the Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, phony, old school neoliberal types nobody likes are on the way out.
Yeah, and you want to know what? I'm kind of saddened that this is at the end of our podcast here, because as we know, a lot of people drop out. But if you're still with us, I give credit where credit is due, and this is something in which Cody is very wise. All right, and I give you credit, Cody, for having said this. You said something interesting, where you said, I can't remember. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you're gonna have to help me recreate it. But you said something along the lines of that if we really wanted to do America a favor, what would be more worth it? To try and fight Democrats and expose the vestiges of socialism and communism that is still in their system, or to just try and introduce as many capitalist ideas that work in order to make them more moderate, which would be better. And I think you're right that introducing good ideas into the system and coaxing the Democratic Party back from the far left and more into the capitalist center is what's going to be better for America, because it will give them better choices. And by eschewing some of these dinosaurs of the old age of imprisoning people for nonviolent marijuana crimes and not letting them leave so we can fight free wildfires, and the corruption of the Clintons, and just the baggage of the legacy dynasties that dominated the last half of the 20th century, and so on and so forth. You're right. I think that's a good thing, and it shows that hopefully the Democratic Party is trending a lot more towards capitalism and less cronyism, because she was probably the ultimate crony candidate. I mean, one of the most powerful Democrats in all of the nation began sleeping with her and then bragged that he gave her first appointed positions because they were having extramarital affairs.
Didn't she almost kind of come like the female Beto, where it was just like out of nowhere, she's running for president and she could be a front runner? It's like, why? Who is this person? I don't even know.
What do you mean, why? Because of the identity, female, African American.
No offense to Kamala Harris, she's not the only African American woman in this country. Okay, so I
know,
don't know.
But they were salivating over her.
But I don't know. All I'm saying is, it's great to see, because she was one of the most annoying, patronizing kind of DNC. We're going to run her and you're going to like it kind of candidates. Seeing her fail and seeing Hillary try to come back, people were, you know what? I think if when Hillary tested the water over the last few years, there was a better response, she would have ran. But even Hillary is self-aware enough to realize, man, every time I talk about stuff, like, people really don't like me anymore. Not only I lose to Trump, I lost to Trump because people didn't like me, and now they like me less because Trump won, and they don't want Trump either. So I think it's really good to see a future where we can move on from that era of Democrats, which really were bad for just everyone. Because it's bad for the Democrats, and if it's bad for the Democrats, it means the Republicans can get lazy. So it's bad for everyone when it's like that, when you have these crony, lazy people, and they're on their way out. Good to see.
Yeah. So anyway, let us know what you guys think. If you haven't a chance to like the video, please like it, share, or subscribe. And if you can, join us on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where you can actually call in. We had a really fun call-in show yesterday. That number is 1-833-PSP Radio. We also try and answer voicemails as often as possible, as you can see on our channel. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.